Hello everyone, my name is Dr. Yonit Arthur. I'm an audiologist and coach. You are on The Steady Coach, and today we're going to be talking about how to deal with shame and self-criticism about your symptoms. So if you're suffering from chronic medically unexplained dizziness symptoms, whether they're associated with triple PD, MDDS, vestibular migraine, or you don't have a specific medical diagnosis, it is a very common experience to be really down on yourself over the limitations that you have in your life as the result of your symptoms. People often feel limited in the activities they can do. Sometimes they can't participate as actively in their loved ones' lives. Frequently, they're not able to help others the way that they used to, or perform their jobs the way that they used to. Or they may suffer from specific symptoms like brain fog or clumsiness or difficulty concentrating that can be actually embarrassing when they're interacting with other people. So if any of these situations describe you, and as a result you feel a lot of shame and embarrassment, you are not alone. And we're going to talk today in this video about some strategies that you can use to help reduce the self-criticism and shame that you feel. Now, why are we talking about this on my channel? Well, first of all, I care about you. And I don't want you to have to go through your life right now while you're recovering from these symptoms, also feeling really down on yourself. But furthermore, and maybe more importantly for you, shame, embarrassment, and being down on yourself, self-criticism, these things are major contributors to a lack of safety in your nervous system, or what I have called in many other videos, danger mode. So as we've discussed extensively in other videos, the driver of chronic dizziness is a nervous system error whose root is the result of your brain predicting danger where there isn't danger. In other words, your nervous system is constantly in a threat response, even when it doesn't need to be. And in order to recover from chronic dizziness symptoms, we need to address this root problem. We talk about lots of different things on my channel that affect danger mode, that affects your brain and nervous system's experience of safety. But it is also important to remember that internal factors like shame, self-judgment, and self-criticism are big danger signals to your nervous system as well. So today I'm going to review 4 different strategies that you can use to address the shame and self-criticism that you're feeling. The first 3 are more behavioral, so they have a little more to do with changing the way that you're doing things. And the 4th one is much more internally focused. It's more experiential, changing how you're doing things. The first one is very simple, and that is reframing the symptoms. And this is something you're already doing by watching videos on my channel. When you understand the source of your symptoms and you realize that they're really out of your control and they're universal enough that some lady on YouTube is making videos about them, it can help you feel a lot less shame and self-criticism. So I encourage you, if you're having specific symptoms that make you feel very self-critical or cause you to shame yourself, that you watch videos on those very specific symptoms here on my channel to, again, take some of the pressure off you and remind yourself that you're not alone. And that brings me to number 2. And number 2 requires you to notice your own double standards. So if you've already done number 1, you've learned about the symptoms, you realize that you're not alone, you realize it's not your fault, and you're still shaming and judging yourself for having symptoms or not being able to function like you were before the symptoms started. But when you think of other people going through this, you're not judging them, then you have a double standard going on. And this is only natural. Many of us function this way. But if you're noticing you have a double standard, this is something we want to start correcting with a technique that many of you are probably already familiar with called self-compassion. And self-compassion simply means treating yourself with kindness, with love, and with respect, regardless of the achievements you are and are not able to make right now. And you might feel that right now you don't deserve to feel good about yourself because you're not able to accomplish the things that you normally are able to accomplish. And I recognize that. And we're going to talk through that in a little more depth in the fourth technique. But in the meantime, I want you to know that practicing self-compassion is exactly that, a practice, and you can actually derive benefits from it even if you're faking it until you're making it. In other words, you don't have to have all parts of you believe that you deserve self-compassion to start practicing self-compassion and get some benefits out of it. So here are some ideas for little exercises you can do to practice self-compassion. One is that you can set aside time at the end of each day or at a different time that's convenient for you to just write a nice letter to yourself. If it's hard for you to imagine yourself writing the letter, you can channel someone who's close to you or who you think is a very kind and compassionate person. Imagine what that person would say to you and write a letter from them to you. You can also make this a little more experiential by doing something like a compassionate body scan. I have one of those in the Brain Exercises playlist, but you can also look all over the internet. There are other options for compassionate body scans. And one tool that I have used personally with clients is I ask them to notice when they are being hard on themselves and being critical on themselves, and then record a voice memo of them actually being kind to themselves instead. Thinking about how they would talk to a cherished loved one who was going through the same situation. So for example, if you start thinking to yourself, wow, I'm completely useless. I can't believe I couldn't go out and do that thing. I hate these symptoms. You would say something like, hey, I'm really sorry that you're not feeling well, and I understand why you'd want to rest. I'm here for you. It's not your fault. Now moving on to method number 3. This also relates to number 2, and this is treating your shame and self-judgment as a bad habit that you want to change. So again, this is a very behavioral technique. This doesn't require you to go deep into experiential and emotional work, so it may appeal to many of you. What it does require though is mindfulness. And what I mean by mindfulness is you do need to be able to notice the triggers that lead you to shame and self-judgment. So you're going to want to spend a day investigating this and writing this down. So when I say triggers, I'm not talking about triggers for symptoms. I'm talking about the triggers that lead you to be really harsh on yourself. So when you catch yourself being harsh to yourself, shaming yourself, judging yourself, criticizing yourself, I want you to think, okay, what just happened right before I went into this habit? And this may be something like a symptom, but it may be other things in your life that have nothing to do with symptoms. And you may start to notice patterns. You're going to pick these triggers. You're going to notice that this habit of shaming yourself always happens after these triggers, whatever they are. And then you're going to pick a new habit that you're going to want to eventually swap the old habit out for. This may be saying something self-compassionate to yourself, but it doesn't necessarily have to be. It could be redirecting your attention to something else. It could be doing something that brings you joy. It could be thinking of something that you're grateful for. Again, anything that makes sense to you. Whatever your new habit is, you're going to start to pair it with the old habit. So every time the trigger happens, you shame yourself and judge yourself, you're going to tack on that new habit on top of it. You're not going to try to get rid of the shame and judgment right away. That's not the objective here. You're not trying to stop yourself from shaming yourself. You're trying to add on the new habit to when you do. With time, once you've established that new habit, you're going to be more easily able to swap it out. So after a few weeks of practicing and having this new habit really become a habit that automatically happens every time you shame yourself, you can start practicing skipping straight over to the second habit instead. Okay, so we're going to talk now about the fourth method. And the fourth method is derived from parts work. So there are many different modalities, whether they're therapeutic or coaching modalities that use parts. This one relies to some extent on internal family systems, which is one such method. So what I want you to notice is that there is a part of you that's shaming you. And what I mean by a part of you is simply like oh, there's a part of me that wants to eat that piece of cheesecake, and there's a part of me that really doesn't want me to eat it for whatever reason. So there's a part of you that's shaming you. And now I want you to think about the last time that this happened, when you found yourself really shaming yourself or judging yourself. That part of you was being activated. You can close your eyes for this exercise if it's helpful, or you can keep them open. But I want you to turn your attention inside and just notice what it feels like, what you notice through your senses when you are shaming yourself in this particular situation. You might notice that a particular location in your body seems tight, or that there's some other sensation in your body. For me, when I find I'm shaming myself, I feel a dropping sensation in my stomach. For others of you, you may hear something, you may hear words like, you're not good enough, you shouldn't be feeling this way. And for still others of you, you may get some kind of visual image of this part of you that's shaming you. You may see someone wagging their finger at you, or something even more abstract than that. Just sit and notice this and how it shows up for you. And once you have a good sense of how this part shows up for you, just simply turn inside and ask the part the question, what does it want for you? What's it trying to accomplish for you when it's shaming you? So answers that are relatively common would be things like, by shaming you, I'm trying to help you be your best. By shaming you, I'm hoping to motivate you to get better. By shaming you, I'm trying to help you belong. Whatever answer you get, even if it's not one of those, see if you can thank the part sincerely for trying to help. Now, I know this may be difficult because some of the answers you're getting may not feel like the part is actually trying to help. It may seem like the part is actually doing more harm than good. But I would like you to assume that this part of you has a positive intention for you, even if you don't know it yet, and even if you don't like the methods. So again, if you don't like what the part said, you can say something like, I don't really understand why it is that you're doing this, but I do know that you have a positive intention, and thank you for trying to help me with it. All right, so once you have a sense of the goal that this shaming part has for you, you're gonna dig a little bit deeper. And you're gonna say, if you achieve that goal, what else are you trying to get for me? What deeper experience or what more important thing are you trying to get for me? So examples that often come up out of this are things like, I wanna feel like myself again. I wanna go back to functioning normally. I wanna go back to being a productive member of my family. I want other people to admire and respect me like they used to. So again, we went from I'm shaming you and making you feel bad about yourself to now this very positive intention of trying to help you feel better. Again, thank this part of you for trying to achieve this positive thing for you. And again, if you don't get a positive answer, see if you can find a way to thank this part of you anyway. And now, whatever answer you got, I want you to try to really visualize it like it's true. So if your shaming or self-judgment part said, I really want you to live life well again, I want you to feel functional again, see if you can really visualize this for a moment. And again, ask the part what that would mean for you on the inside. If it did achieve that, what would that mean for you on the inside? Maybe there's a more important purpose even underneath that. If you did feel normal again, if people didn't have to support you all the time, if you didn't have to rely on others, what would that do for you on the inside? As you're going through this line of questioning, what you're doing is you're getting to the bottom of what this self-critical part of you is really after. And as you see, it's not really after shaming. It's not even necessarily really after symptom reduction. It's after some other kind of feeling of safety, happiness, fulfillment, or purpose in your life. And it's really important for you to understand this because this means now when the shaming or self-criticism comes up, you can remind yourself that this part of you actually has this much greater purpose in mind. Now, this just scratches the surface of what you can do with all 4 of these techniques, but I hope this gave you some ideas of what you can start to work on to reduce your shame and self-judgment about your symptoms and any limitations or changes that have occurred as the result of your symptoms. Remember that working on shame and self-judgment is a part of your recovery process because it is going to help calm your nervous system and create the conditions that you need for your nervous system to feel safe and to correct the prediction errors that are causing your symptoms. If you found these techniques helpful, again, there's a lot more depth that you can go into on this, and in particular, the fourth one. So if you found that exercise interesting, please learn a little bit more about internal family systems or other systems of parts work. There are some great books on this that I will link to in the video description below. Regardless of which method you choose to work with, I hope this was helpful for you guys. And if you have any questions, comments, drop them below. And if you enjoyed this video, please like, share, and subscribe. It helps me reach more people. Thank you for tuning in.